Before I start this video, you know I'm like a big LGBTQ guy. Like, I love making LGBTQ videos. In fact, some people have designated me as like a queer YouTube like creator, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But this video, this is expected, so I'm sorry. It's the word that strikes fear upon man, and joy upon woman, and fear upon woman sometimes. It's a word that's left its mark on anime subcultures across the world. It's the word that brings flashback to 10 to 20 years worth of anime fans and congoers, at least for the West Side. It's the word engraved on one of the most dangerous weapons ever made, one that rivals even the Giga Battlenizer. It's the word that captures the balance of two worlds between tops and bottoms, or, as they call it, seme and uke. It is the word that is not only one of the most dangerous to mankind, but most representative of boy kind that loves boys. That word, the word meaning boys love, is yaoi. Alright, silly talk over. Let's be real here. Anyone who's been online or go to anime cons know what yaoi is. And considering what I make on this channel, the genre needs no introduction nor any explanation because, well, I think most of us know what it is, right? Guy loving guy. If you're here for my Danmei video, I mentioned moving from Japan to Taiwan to China. That's what started Danmei, and yeah, this is the origin. But while we all know yaoi is boys love written by women for a woman, it's time to also fill in the pieces historically. As mentioned in my Danmei video, homoerotic art and literature was present in Imperial China up until the Qing dynasty, and for Japan it was, well, kind of the same, but a little clarity here. Let's explain. Like many non-Abrahamic based countries, Japan had no major problem or hatred towards homosexuality, and homoerotic art was common. It was even common for male monks to have relationships with men instead of women. They just treated sex as just natural between adults. However, as we got to the Meiji era, it saw modernization and more Western values coming to ashore, cracking down on gay relationships until they pretty much banned it. But that was only for 8 years, and that was only to catch up with the West, and they eventually said that's kind of boring and threw it out in 1880. Thus, gay sex was back on the market. As of now, being LGBTQ in Japan, it's not that bad, actually. It's not the censorship frenzy China does, as I described in my Danmei video, nor is it the most friendly in the region. That title belongs to Taiwan. Homosexuality isn't criminalized or censored. They got their own LGBT festivals and pride events. Even Sega and Sony attend them. Yeah, video game giants Sega and Sony show up. They even got their mascots too. Yet Toro does not show anywhere else in the world, which is stupid because in 5th grade I went to 5 different GameStops in my area asking for Toro Let's Party after playing PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and I was really upset because they had no idea what I was talking about and they looked at me like I was an idiot, and it's Japan exclusive, so Toro can go to a pride event in Japan. Why not have a game release in America? And for marriage, Japan has a de-andro problem where they want it but don't legalize it, but they also give certificates. They kind of yes, no. It's like US pre-Obergefell or Mexico prior to 2022, but instead of Catholic fundamentalists yelling at random trans people on TikTok, it's just court rulings and another, and it's kind of back and forth.
And a Slim Jim.
Aside from that, there's no censorship too. They're free to advocate, create work, and share who we are, ranging from poems, art, and of course, yaoi. Yaoi first popped up around 1970s in the shoujo genre, meant to be for girls. It didn't get its name, however, until the 1980s with doujinshis getting the name for its lack of plot and mere focus on sexual content between two men. Yamanashi, ochinashi, iminashi. I hope I pronounced that right. Better than my Chinese pronunciations, honestly. As the genre slowly but surely grew, it eventually was able to get its own magazines for BL writers to publish their work, called June. BL got rampant success in the 90s and 2000s, with the genre growing in popularity and the note of people overseas picking up on the genre. June was joined by magazines such as B-Boy, Dear Plus, and some self-published works involving copyrighted characters that you can meet at Comic Head, just like the Leech Street Boys. God, I love the Leech Street Boys. And then we get to today, where yaoi as of now... Yeah, like I said, yaoi doesn't have the best rep around town. If it's not the awkward and weird hand and joint drawings, but also for its bad writing. Usually having no plot and jumping to the sex and sometimes sexual assault. Including the fact that these are same-sex couples made by women through a woman's lens led to a bad taste and poor look among LGBTQ people outside of Japan. It might have caught on to yaoi fangirls outside, or fujoshis, or that one guy who does the yaoi Xmas songs. God, I love that guy so much. This disconnection from gay men, the problematic and poor plotline, and also the fact that it's in Japan made it hard to find enjoyment for LGBT people, but...
Why are you crying, Patrick?
Because, SpongeBob, back in my day, I was a Yaoi fanboy. Yeah, I realized I was gay because of Yaoi. Take that as you will. Surprise, woo, plot twist. Really good writing. Alright, let me explain. Being on the internet since you were around 9 in the 2010s was wild, okay? If it wasn't YouTube poops or Joey Graceffa videos, I'm sorry. It was anime fan dubs and rips, and that included Yaoi. Around 11, I saw the concept of two guys kissing and being in these romantic comics and thought, that's kinda cute. I never was homophobic thanks to my parents actually accepting and hanging with family who are queer, and that One American Dad episode. However, at that age, I never would imagine that I myself would be gay. So seeing two attractive anime guys kissing and holding hands and stuff was kind of a wake-up call going, I kind of want a relationship like that. I don't want women. So yeah, Yaoi, despite how it's nothing like it was now, I still owe it a lot for my identity. But that title goes to Sonato though, the true OTP. But honestly, let's look into Yaoi fair and square actually. Let's take it out of all contents and let's look in. At first glance, Yaoi is an entirely problematic element riddled with many problematic and bad little elements. That and rabid fans known as Fujoshis plague the world and riddle it with evilness such as fetishizing gay men and completely disregarding boundaries. At this point, I was done with Yaoi and felt that it was a horrible representation of MLM relationship. I felt that people in Japan, especially Japanese women, could never match what I go through and who I am. And I felt that a country that's halfway across the world would never try to emulate what gay people go through in their own countries or anywhere else, so I kinda struggled. However, I decided to open and go into Yaoi through another perspective and through another lens that would help me better understand. And the best way I can introduce this topic is, do you remember that one episode of Power Rangers? In Dino Thunder, there was an episode called Lost and Found in Translation, where Connor, Ethan, and Kira go on a brand new cable system and discover a show about the
world-famous Power Rangers.
And actually, it's their counterpart in Japan, the source material. Throughout the episode, Connor kept mocking the show, saying it's a bad representation of what they do, how it's harmful to their image, and how it's completely awful and stupid. Only for him to slowly realize that it's nothing serious, but a simple fun telling of their story. Although not accurate and sometimes outrageous, it's never meant with bad intentions or to harm people, and rather to praise and show light of the Power Rangers or Abba-Ranger. Eventually, he realizes he likes it a lot and starts to love it and praises it, even wanting to see more. And that's when it hits me. Yaoi is to LGBTQ stories, like what Super Sentai is to Power Rangers. When it comes to the discussion of comparisons between Power Rangers and Super Sentai, as well as its sister Kamen RIder, it's always a conflict of what's better, what's not, who's the quality top dog, who's the elitist, yada yada yada. But honestly, there can be an agreement that maybe both are equal in their quality. Despite their differences in storytelling, actions, and actors, both are equally amazing and impactful for the people who grew up with it. If we pretend the Megaforce duology doesn't exist and Q Ranger being robbed of a proper adaptation doesn't exist. So honestly, I went into Yaoi thinking it's gonna be like being introduced to Sentai and Kamen RIder, because I loved Power Rangers and I love Tokusatsu in Japan. So if I love LGBTQ stories in the West, I will gladly enjoy Yaoi. Wait a second. It took you 17 videos to acknowledge the Kamen of Kamen O'o, it's pronounced like that, and Tokusatsu. Well, the O'o comes from Komo'o, but you don't see me making a Pokemon video because there's a bunch of Pokemon videos on YouTube. At least with Tokusatsu, there's not much, but they're pretty good. I might make some, now that I think about it. Oh, and speaking of, am I the only Sentai fan that likes Fibumon? I think it's like a good season. Of course, everyone like bashes it and it almost killed Sentai, but I genuinely think it has its merits and I enjoy it. Okay, back on topic. Let's dive into Yaoi finally. So, I want people to look into Yaoi and its identity with me in LGBTQ media the same way Power Rangers fans view Super Sentai media and Tokusatsu. Or vice versa if you're randomly watching this from Japan. Hi. So, looking into Yaoi can't be that big, is it? Oh god, it's a lot. For starters, Yaoi is no longer the Yaoi we used to know. At first, Yaoi was just a term for Japanese manga and anime that featured a typical dynamic of seme and uke, which is just top and bottom but Japanese. Now, it's a genre of media. Manga, anime, comics, dramas, audios, novels. Hey, I did a video on that. All about the love of men who love men. Heck, it even had a name change or adaptation to the widespread genre, BL, or boys love. Yaoi, or BL, is now a continental phenomenon across Asia. To talk about just Japan's accomplishments in the BL medium would be on its own good, but would completely fail to capture the entire genre due to the success countries like Thailand and the Philippines has had in making it. So for this video, unlike my Danmei where I read about 10 to 15 danme series, and a few short stories, I challenged myself to read/watch 100 BLs for analysis from all over Asia, and so here it is, the story of Yaoi. The first thing we gotta address when talking about Yaoi is the first media it started in, manga. Yaoi manga, being the oldest of the medium, has evolved both story-wise and art-wise. Story-wise, the Yaoi manga has outgrown that awkward consent and poor chemistry, and is able to develop good storylines and well-developed romances. While some would bring up Given, or if you're my friend Natalie Bananafish, hi Natalie, I want to bring up an obscure one I found while binging Yaoi, Renai Sosa. Being published in 2006 under B-Boy magazine, Renai Sosa, or Love Control, follows Takashi Okumura, a president of a company, no, not that one, hiring interior designer Kei Yamashiro, only for both to fall in love, yet do not want to submit to the other at all. The best way I can see it is pretty much an abridged gay version of Kaguya-sama, but with men in power, and no dance for someone to dance to get a girlfriend. A big problem with some yaoi stories, especially in its infant years and even today, is that seme and uke, it's top and bottom, they are strictly forced into two personality tropes and meant to only express who is topping and who is bottoming. Renai Sosa is one that does away with the physical and personalities associated with both, instead trying to balance the two's dominance in speech and ensure one is just not submitting and the other is like fighting back, sort of. It also takes time for the viewers to feel their romance between themselves too. It's refreshing to see people explore their feelings and realize you like guys as well as just being not in high school. Yeah, most of the plots take place in school, so pretty cool I see them outside of such, but hey, that doesn't mean they're bad because of such. Also, another thing that evolved is the art style, because Renai Sosa has some pretty good looking guys, and I'm gonna admit that Okumura and Yamashiro aren't that bad looking. I think they're kind of attractive. Anyway, Yaoi, or BL, is good as it's pretty flexible in how it can grow in a relationship or the love of man. While mostly I read and watched are more typical high school plots and romance, it's just romance. The romance genre can be worked to multiple elements and different ways to show a story. For example, want to add a twist to a generic high school plot? Be like Tsukisho, which follows a boy named Sora awakes to realize he has an alternate personality of Yoru and grows an awkward but loving romance with Ran. Want baseball? I watched Battery, which it's simple and has a cute plot. People find it boring and I'm inclined to agree, but it's less than that. It's not bad and it just is blown out of the water because it came out the same year as Yuri on Ice. I think it's alright for what it is. Want a yaoi that gives off classic 2000s anime vibes and hot topic and is about a band? Gravitation. Do you like furries and Beastars and hate how for some reason Paru didn't just put Lego She and Lewis together like she was supposed to because they had better chemistry? Buchuwa Oni and Wisdom's no Kemonotachi are pretty good furry BLs. Want action-packed anime that outclasses even the greatest Shonen Jump titles in seinen? Dig Fight Island, and I am not kidding. I read it and it goes raw as hell. I can't explain too much because if I did, YouTube will put my head on a spike and we're not going to do that. Overall, BL, manga, and of course anime are flexible genres that can really work well and some people just make it feel nice. A lot of people's negative stigma towards BL is that gay men don't act like this is not how gay men behave. And to be honest, yes and no. Yes, we don't act like this and we can't say we're like this at all. Relatable maybe, but not 100% us most certainly. No, we aren't kawaii hot men in high school, but yes, we are horny. Yarichin Bitch Club proves that. And don't come for me in the comments because some of the shit you guys type up on Grindr or talk about on there, you will end up as bad as your— Wait, you actually read Yarichin Bitch Club? Yes. But honestly, the more I read these and watch the future series we're going to talk about, the more I realize this isn't how gay men act excuse is kind of stupid because it kind of made me realize that we queer guys aren't a monolith and we have different elements and identities that just blend, clash, or whatever. Some of us are baseball players, some of us are drag queens, some of us are student government, some of us are hackers, all that, and I like it. As a gay man, it's okay to have different types of stories presented. Oh, and also my favorite has to be What Did You Eat Yesterday? Kino Nani Tabeta, or What Did You Eat Yesterday, is a BL series that caught my attention for not only the premise, but also for how it strayed away from the norms. Instead of having some cute kawaii pretty boy art style in high school, What Did You Eat Yesterday focuses on two older men in their 40s in this simple and goofy art style, going towards more of a Shin-chan vibe to it, and have them talk about their days, their journey, and of course their food, and especially just talking about being gay. Instead of seeing the romance blossom like in every other cliche story, the romance is right there for us to explore, meaning there's other ways to explore and look at same-sex couples, especially in Japan. Here in the story, we have two types of gays. We have Shiro, a closeted man who refuses to be more expressive and fits into Japanese society more well than other gays by being closed and conserved to himself, and Kenji, a flamboyant, passionate, and always loving Shiro gay guy who works as a barber and always loving what Shiro cooks for him. Not only do we see them live a normal life and the struggles such as budgeting and family, but we also see themselves struggle with their identity. For example, Kenji and Shiro clashing about how one portrays their sexuality, whereas one comes off as more flamboyant, one conceals their identity to blend into Japanese workforce. And also the food, it looks really good. And shout out to whoever's uploading the little clip. One big and major problem people bring up is that women are the primary writers of yaoi and BL, thus they can capture the essence of being gay. That actually does have merits, and that's 100% true, especially in Japan. Luckily, many male authors, or those with pen names for women such as Modk, are men and stepping up to write BL, even some that are closeted LGBTQ men who can't really share it, and that's valid. Also, when we talk about the concept of gender in Japan, Japan isn't the best with not only LGBTQ identities, but women too. And to quote Melanie from Queer as Folk 2000,
you could hang a sign on your office door saying blowjobs 10 cents, and you'd still have it better than any woman or person of color, because guess what? You're a white man. Still counts for something in this country.
And in the context of gender, it makes sense that men still have it better regardless of sexuality. While not as bad as China as mentioned in my Danme video, it's still not great. Sexism in Japan is prominent, and the heavily patriarchal society still reigns supreme in Japanese culture. Controversies such as the Tokyo medical universities manipulating scores so women are kept out of schools, sexual harassment rampant among schools, politics and the workforce, and the concept of women just being submissive to men is a cruel and tough idea. The only main difference is that Japanese women can share their grievances without having to worry about the Japanese government arresting them or making them disappear. The concept of fetishizing gay men is 100% wrong, and if you're in a country in which you have more rights than your fellow LGBTQ identities, even if you are a woman, that's still something you shouldn't do. Instead, try to lift up MLM identities and MLM couples instead. But when you look at it through the lens of Japanese society, the odds are more stacked against women than men, even if they are gay, because at the end of the day, society will lift up men and masculinity because you aren't a woman, point blank. Hi, I'm currently recording on my bad mic, but I'm currently editing the video, and I have good news to share. Not only did Japan raise the age of consent from 13 to 16, they also redefined rape. Under this new law, rape will be defined as not having no consent, meaning it doesn't have to have violent force to do it. Back then, you needed to show physical assault in order for it to be charged as rape. Now it just requires 2 consenting adults. So if you don't consent verbally, but there's no violence, it's still rape. Not to mention upskirting, taking photos of women without their consent and sharing it sexually, as well as other forms of sexual assault, have been limited and in some right banned, for example, upskirting. So I want to say congratulations to the women of Japan who have protested and pushed for their congressmen and leaders to push these laws. I wish them the best of luck going forward and help push for more equality among women in Japan. Best of luck. When you look at it through this context, Yaoi feels less malicious and more like Danme, except more free to work with sexual stuff considering censorship is not prominent in Japan. Both are women attempting to explore and indulge in their sexual fantasies and identities without the fear of men being down their necks, as well as also engaging in the taboo of being gay. So it's okay to let women explore themselves through manga and anime. It's okay for them to write MLM stories. Heck, even some of them are also writing WLW stories, or as they call it, Yuri. Shout out to my Yuri fans, of course. And also, it adds to my collection of MLM gay romances that I love, because I love seeing men being together. I love it. They can write a little more Sonic and Shadow, though, but oh well. To be honest, studying about how unfair women have it in terms of exploring their sexuality and being open about their identity made me more sympathetic and made me drop that belief as, oh, all yaoi is bad, fetishizing gay men is all yaoi, because as a gay man, I'm just happy to see more LGBTQ representation, even if it's not direct. I covered several manga on this channel, already ranging from the 70s to the 2020s, and having a simple BL manga and anime is just as valuable. While not as explicit in being queer as the others, it still has value. Also, about BL being made just by women for women, how do I explain the rest of Asia and the production teams behind the live-action dramas? Yeah, after Japan and reading manga and anime, I realized it's not just Japanese manga or anime, it's dramas. Thailand, Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, Singapore, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Malaysia. All of a sudden, I'm seeing all these series about guys who love guys, and they're in Asia of all places. And Japan didn't fall behind either. I mentioned What Did You Eat Yesterday, and it also has a live-action adaptation too, among others, and it's really good, as well as the food. But let's move out of Japan to these countries to highlight these other countries. By the way, these were a part of the account. Danmei was a part of the account because it still counts under Boys Love, so yeah. The concept of yaois and BLs becoming dramas has been a thing since the 2000s. However, considering the climate back then, the romance between two men was downplayed heavily, but luckily got better as the years went by. BL, both in Japan and in Asia, has achieved major success, such as Osan's Love, a BL series about a love triangle, and now Thailand's 2007 Love of Siam, which grossed around 40 million Thai baht. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Pretty good for a movie about a same-sex couple in Thailand. From there, Asian countries followed suit and started producing their own series for both TV and online. Instead of reviewing every country at once, I decided to just talk in general and highlight some series. The BL genre has evolved and benefited from going international, and it shows in the writing and unique stories. One example of this is how these countries take the BL genre and incorporate their own cultures and identities within the narrative. One recent example I found myself enjoying is the Thai BL My School president, following student council president Din having a crush on band leader Gun, but because of his position on student council, has to disband the band Chinzilla, Gun's band. What I like is, while it is a typical high school level romance, it's not just a copy of Japanese BL, but its own Thai BL. Being greeted to a culture festival and religious beliefs relating to Thai culture in the first episode is really cool. Having brands that are prominent in Thailand that are even from America, Tin and Gun have this blossoming romance that makes it feel unique to a Thai experience, while also having a cute queer romance story and fits well into Thailand's LGBTQ identity. Another good example I found is See Him, of Vietnam, which follows Tien, a photographer from the city, going to a local fishing neighborhood and meeting a poor guy Thai who's hostile to the idea of city folks. Seeing their dynamic in the village around them is so cool. Not only do we see just them being romantic, we also see a glimpse of the small Vietnamese town. We see other conflicts, such as the local gang boss terrorizing and threatening the couple and Tien's family. This not only makes it multi-layered story-wise, but also adds story to the country and gives it more power instead of just having a generic background. Having See Him have this setting really works to not only grow the romance, but also give life to the story. I can go on a rant about every BL series I watch, but to end this off, I want to highlight two things about BL in Asia I loved. First is the sound effects, because my god, it's so goofy and silly. I love it. For example, My Best Boyfriend is a great Vietnamese series because, like, episode 3 and you're greeted to the Mario game over sound and the no 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 Vine sound. It's like watching Gay Swag Irony without the Dreamy Bowl, which is pretty good actually, much better. Like, watching these while drifting to sleep is funny because you're about to go to bed and then you hear the Metal Gear sound out of nowhere. Alright, let's get serious. One that really stand out for me is, honestly, What the Duck, a Thai BL. What the Duck revolves around the failed flight attendant Pop, who's separated from his girlfriend, only to meet another man, Oat, and fall in love with him. What I love about this series is, despite being a BL, and I'm also currently watching it, it isn't afraid to go hard. You see, being in a not too friendly LGBTQ country, you'd expect it to be squeaky clean and yada yada yada, some teen angst, whatever. What the Duck does not hold back at all. Whether it's the crude nature of the main character, Oat, or the random aggressiveness, or just the callbacks to sex, I like it, and it just tries to distill the belief that we all just behave the same, and I like that. And another one that really stood out for me is Stay Away From Me. And before I share what country it's from, I want you to take a guess. And it's not that it's a drama. It's 2 episodes on YouTube. It's alright, it's not really special, but what I want to draw attention to is the country. Did you have your guesses? It's in Malaysia. I mentioned that almost all of Asia has tasted the Yaoi BL craze, and so far from my research, the only country that hasn't been touched is Indonesia, and that includes Malaysia. Malaysia is, if not, one of the strictest anti-LGBTQ countries in the region. Malaysia, the same country that advocates for censorship, the same country that raided a store for watches because it's LGBTQ, I have no idea. The same state that has allowed for LGBTQ identities to be killed has a BL drama, and I respect that. Even though Stay Away From Me is kind of generic and it shares its name with another BL, I like it, and I respect the fact that it's breaking grounds. Like, if this was in America, it'd just be alright, but it's in Malaysia, and I respect that, and hopefully everyone working on it is safe. I just gotta give them my respect, simple. Overall, my journey through this genre was tough. At first, I was a bit skeptic because not only I was looking at something that caught myself enjoying and loving in my younger years, as embarrassing as it sounds, but also something that has drastically grew and expanded while I was gone. Nevertheless, as for me, I found myself enjoying it more and more, but also not. Alright, let's get it out of the way. It's goofy, it's cheesy, it's corny. And I'm glad. I'm glad we're getting this, and I'm glad we're getting the ability to shine, especially in countries where LGBTQ rights are far behind. And honestly, as a gay man, who am I to shut down my fellow MLM siblings from having a happy relationship? Who am I to shut down people who want to see my relationships blossom? And who am I to put down women who face a patriarchal society that also shuns my fellow LGBTQ siblings? And even though the pioneers of BL genre were women, in a very patriarchal society like Japan, women should explore their sexuality and what they want in a relationship through such. And maybe the production crew of BLs across Asia would be able to do stuff safely and be able to produce more. So to the people who are making these BLs in Asia, thank you, and I respect you. You guys are providing a resource to so many queer Asians that would never have that because of their country. So to conclude this video, I want to call back to that ending of that aforementioned Dino Thunder episode. At the end, Connor got the rerun of the episode and made a project comparing the differences and similarities in how they see Power Rangers in Japan and America, and we're using it as the context of Super Sentai and Power Rangers. Yaoi, BL, and other LGBTQ media across the world are completely different, and that's okay. In a hostile society that would rather see queer people censored and killed, I'm glad they exist. Let BL mangas produce. Let BL dramas thrive. And more importantly, for this Pride Month, pass the Yaoi. Wow, I didn't even realize I didn't include end credits. My goodness, this was... I'm so glad this is done. Thank you so much for watching. This video was a bit hard to put up, especially with current stuff going on. Well, as of now for the summer, I think I'm going to take a little break from YouTube because I got to do some college stuff, as well as also real life stuff. So might as well check me out on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, anywhere. If you want to donate to my Ko-fi, please do. If you want to chat in my Discord, go ahead. And thank you. I really appreciate you guys watching this. Make sure to have a happy and safe Pride Month. I hope everyone is doing good.